Oh, goody.
All right, what is going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we have a different kind of video for you. So, as you can probably tell by the title, this is going to be showcasing the fact that apparently the number one player on NA right now on Mercenaries on the leaderboards is a bot. It is someone who is making use of some sort of external software to bot the game to play it automatically for them. And yeah, so I just wanted to kind of show off some evidence of that, show off what comp they're using to bot with, and I'm going to have an example game that we actually got from one of Dallas's streams. If you don't know who he is, he's a great other Mercenaries creator. I'll have a link in the description where you can check him out. But yeah, so how do we know that somebody is botting, right? Well, this actually ties into an issue we've talked about before in the past on the podcast, and is directly related to how the Mercenaries ladder currently is set up. So we have their comp here. We're going to look at it in a minute, but first we're going to show the leaderboards. So if we take a look at the Hearthstone leaderboards for March, we can see that person at number one here, Spark, has a significantly higher MMR, external MMR rating than pretty much anyone else. A lot of names we know and are people I've played against a bunch up here. Surajak, Cloud, Hidden Pants, King Joffrey, Izzy's, all names we know if you've been playing Mercenaries for a while now. But Spark was someone we had not seen or played against before. But, that on its own isn't that abnormal of a thing. It's always possible new people can get into the game and climb to the top. But 5,000 more rating is a pretty big discrepancy. That on its own would not be enough for me to say, hey, this is definitely a bot. However, we have a little bit more deeper information. So we're going to take a look at that. So this is the donkey.top site. For anyone who isn't familiar with this is basically a better and more in-depth version of the leaderboards ran by a community member. It's a really, really great program. I know a lot of people use it for, as you can see at the top, Masters Tour, GM, I think even the Battlegrounds competitive stuff. He's been putting some stuff. Donkey does a great job, and I definitely recommend checking out his site. And I'll have a link in the description where you can take a look at this yourself. But what exactly are we seeing here? So here we have the kind of history of, and this is based off of the leaderboards. So this only tracks once you make it up to the top 200, because it is just basically taking the data from the Hearthstone leaderboards. But if we scroll down, we can actually see their current rank. This shows in 5-minute intervals the games they've played, basically. So when we see the red rating here, that means they've gotten a loss. When we see green rating, it means they have gotten a win. And now you might notice sometimes there is way more green rating here. Like on average, usually it's like 70 or 80 or something, but here it's like 148. That just means they got 2 wins in less than that 5-minute interval. So it is being counted twice because this does only update, as we can see, every 5 minutes. These are the times. But the reason this is so odd, and you can actually see, like, it's not even like they're winning a whole ton. It's probably relatively even, and they do have big loss streaks too. But if we go up and take a look at the larger graph here, this amount of time, this is literally over a 24-hour period. So that means this person played for over 24 hours straight, nonstop, and just up and up and up. And the reason this is happening is because currently, and this is something we've talked about before, the way Mercenaries works with its MMR ranking, it gives you more for a win than you get when you lose and get a loss. As we can kind of see here, where they're getting 70 for a win, 30, minus 40 or so for a loss. So basically, you really only need to get about a 50% win rate, and then it is very much possible for you to just infinitely climb up. This is a kind of decision or change that was made a long time ago. The first season of Mercenaries was not like this, and then they changed it as we were going into season 2, And since that change, it has really messed things up. It is a big contributing factor to why everyone was getting stuck at the 14K rank mark. Now, eventually they did remove that. So now, as we can see, it is possible to get higher than 31 or than 14K. However, removing the cap didn't fix the problem. And in a lot of ways, as we can see here, it kind of made it worse, because basically all it's saying is you don't need to have a great win rate to get to the top. You just need to play pretty much more than anyone else and have a decent win rate, around 50% or so, and you will get to the top just purely by playing enough games. This also becomes problematic because of queue times. As the internal MMR you have gets higher and higher, the queue times get worse. Like right now, it's pretty average for me to have between a 3 and 5 minute queue time. And so literally they are playing a game, or some cases, as I pointed out here, 2 games before I even have a chance to get in a queue. And my queue times aren't even as bad as some of the other top players. I know some different players who I've talked to about this have had up to 10-minute queue times because their internal MMR is so high and it does not get reset, or it has not been reset yet that we are aware of. So this is just kind of exploitation of a bigger issue in Mercenaries. Obviously, no one should be using a bot, and it will not surprise me that if this person does end up getting banned, as we have already seen Blizzard take action against people doing stuff like this. For anyone who isn't aware, there was actually some players on China making, abusing this kind of bot system to just keep gaining and gaining and gaining, and they actually hit the new cap. They were really blatant about it, and they hit the new cap of I think it's 103,000 or something. It's something realistically no real human being could ever accomplish. And we can see here at the time, so literally they do it for over a day, and this is probably before they enabled their bot, because as we can see, it just turns into a staircase out of nowhere. And that's just because they found a way to just keep queuing games, getting a game every 5 minutes or so. And as long as they're keeping it around that 50-ish% win rate, they're going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And then we can see they probably turned it off here for, 6 hours, 12 hours or so, turned it back on, and now it's been going again. This is the 10th of March. Here is the 11th of March. It's been going for almost 2 days now, right? We're almost at the 12th of March. So it's not physically possible for a person to play this many games. It just isn't. And it's really obvious when we look at the other leaderboard spots and see that they are 5,000 rating above everyone else. You just can't compete with this. And it's kind of silly because, we're not really competing for anything with the Mercenaries leaderboards right now. There's no Masters Tour. There's no big tournament or event or anything like that tied to that. However, there is a benefit, and that benefit is they are basically just farming free rewards coins every day. That's really the only benefit I can think of doing this, unless someone gets, some kind of satisfaction from cheating their way to number 1, and there definitely are people like that out there. We've seen similar things in the past in the wild format, but this is just something I really wanted to bring to everybody's attention, and hopefully this can kind of showcase to Blizzard why we really need a change with the ladder system, because you can ban this bot, but it's not going to fix the problem. This bot is just basically taking advantage of the broken system, and even if we ban all the bots that are doing that, there are still players who can take advantage of that system without botting. So it's a big problem. We're probably going to talk about it a bit on the next podcast episode when we have our guest on. It's a really, it's something we've known about for quite some time, but we haven't seen people actually botting like this until more recently in the past few weeks. And this person, I think, just started doing it, very recently, earlier, a few days ago in this month. But it's just, if you look at any other top player's record on this website, it does not look like this at all. It is not a straight up staircase, and nobody has playtime of over a day without pretty much any breaks. It's just, it does not indicate that there's human behavior going on. So we're going to look at the list now because, Mercenaries is a fairly complex game when it comes to PvP. So it's like, how are they having a bot do that? Is it a really smart bot? Does it just kind of know, learn and adapt and all this stuff? No, it's literally pressing the same buttons pretty much every time. And this is the comp it is using. So I named it Spark Bot here. And they're basically using a Frost opener, always pressing Hailstorm on Local R, always with the Frigid Winds equipment, and you don't even have to do any targeting there, so that is nice and easy. With Jaina, basically, they just have it so if there is a red, it will automatically target that red. I'm not really sure how it handles it if there are 2 reds, but from what I've seen, watching other people play against it, if they do see a red, the Jaina will target it with her ice floats. And then Varden has it nice and easy because Varden can just spam Flurry and doesn't really have to ever do anything else. And you don't even have to target with it. So those 3 are really easy to use for a bot. And then the back line here, we have Karen and Diablo. This was another one of the kind of signaling factors that this was a bot to many of us, because literally it plays the same every game. Like the account does not make any different moves whatsoever. It's always the exact same every single time. So Karen is pretty much always what comes off the bench immediately. A lot of times they just go basically, I believe, for the Endurance Aura right off the bat, even if it doesn't really make sense a lot of the time. So it's just really, really weird, but it kind of makes sense when you consider, oh, the bot is just programmed to do that. Because it's not trying to, it's not like an artificial intelligence bot or something where it's like learning every time. No, it's just a simple bot, most likely, that just, it knows where to press and what to do, and it does it. And then we have Diablo just to go with the Karen, because, it's simple. You can just do your Endurance Aura and Fire Stomp, and then when those are on cooldown, you can just have it switch to Apocalypse and Earth Stomp, and just it's easy. And then Sinestra is the last unit here because Sinestra is another one where you don't really have to make elaborate decisions with Sinestra, because a lot of the time you're just pressing Twilight Extinction and then healing yourself with Mana Barrier. So you don't even have to worry about targeting opponents or which to attack, because the AoE hits everything and then you're just healing yourself. So that is kind of the comp they are using. It's probably an okay comp, but once you've ran into it once or twice, you can figure out how to counter it, and this is another indication that it is a bot. Literally, they never make any different moves, so once you figure out how to counter it, if you keep running into them, they will just keep losing. And we can kind of see that if we look back at the leaderboards here, because they are having like these big loss streaks too, but they're just playing so many games, and they're playing consistently well over 24 hours. So it's like they just run into people all the time, and eventually they're going to run into people who are not beating them, and they're going to get closer to that 50% win rate. So we are going to showcase a game with it here. Let me just get up the footage. All right, and so here we can see this is from one of Dallas's recent streams. I did mute the audio just because of the music and stuff. But basically, he was running into Spark a lot one night, and that was one of the reasons we kind of found out that that he is a bot, is because he just kept seeing the same thing over and over and over again, and no matter what you do, they do not change their strategy whatsoever. So they have that Frost lead, like we were talking about. It makes sense that if you're going to, have a character that that bots like this, that you want the moves to be relatively simple and whatnot. And that's kind of what the Frost comp is, right? Like, you don't have to make these super elaborate decisions. I think this is already after Dallas had played against it once before, so he did get a feeling of how the matchup ends up going. Here we can see that the Jaina did target the red unit, kind of like I mentioned before. That is the only kind of difference that they have made in their play, is that Jaina is programmed or whatever to target super effectively if possible. I'm not really sure how it handles it. If there's no red, it may just choose one at random. I'm not sure. But I thought it'd be good to just showcase some gameplay of this because, you know, if you weren't seeing it all the time, if you didn't run into this guy multiple times in a row and stuff, you probably wouldn't know that this is what is going on. Because, you know, it looks like a legitimate comp and whatnot, and it probably is a legitimate comp. But when you see the same person over and over and over again, and they literally never make a different decision, on top of what we've seen on the donkey leaderboards and whatnot, and just the huge difference in MMR gain over such a short period of time compared to a lot of the best players on NA, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Fortunately, in the past, there has been action taken against this. I know, you know, in some of the other formats, cheating wasn't really taken as seriously for a while, but so far they've actually been better than I expected in Mercenaries. We have had a few instances of people cheating, whether it be with something like this, with a bot or a script or something, and there were also just some people who were using like a cheating client, I think in the beginning, to like limit who they match made. Some players have just found a way to kind of abuse the internal MMR stuff, so they only play against, you know, one specific person, or they only play against an alt so they can like artificially increase their rating. It's a lot of silly stuff, and really none of this would be happening if they basically fixed the ladder in a way that we've kind of all been asking for. You know, it was great that they got rid of the 14K cap, but it didn't solve any of the issues, like any of the real issues. The only thing it solved is it's no longer a tie, but the ladder just, it isn't representative necessarily of who is the best because of this issue where as long as you're getting around that 50% win rate, it turns into more of who is playing or who is playing the most and getting the most games rather than who is actually the best player. And the crazy thing about that is, you know, as I was talking about with the queue times, we literally, the higher up you get and the higher your internal MMR is raised, the more strict the matchmaking is and the longer your queue times get. So literally the best people in the game, they could be winning way more of their games, but purely due to how long it takes in the queues, you can't compete with this. It's literally not possible because somehow this bot has found a way to guarantee getting at least one game every 5 minutes, when a lot of the times if you're playing real games, not only do games take longer than 5 minutes, but just getting in a game can sometimes take 5 minutes. So it's just not possible for even the best players in the game to compete with this, which is really kind of crazy. I think, you know, if this wasn't obvious to them before, I'm really hoping this kind of makes it obvious that there needs to be a change with the current system, because it is just not working out in its current form. Like, I think we've known this for a while, and I don't really know why it hasn't been changed. I don't know if it's a more complex thing with their internal MMR stuff. We do know that the people who handle the MMR and rating and all these kind of systems are separate from like the individual Mercenaries team. It sounds like it is a different department over in Blizzard. So that is worth noting. But they really need to change something with this, because it is just really hurting the game right now, and no one wants to play versus a bot, right? Like, we just want to have some fun in PvP, and the fact that, you know, this is even an issue at all at such a high level is kind of crazy. But as you can see here, Dallas just absolutely slaps them down. Once you figure out the strategy against this bot, it's really easy to farm them, but we would rather play against actual other good players. So yeah, hopefully you found this kind of interesting, and hopefully Blizzard does something about this soon, because this just should not be the case. And as long as they don't fix and change how, you know, internal MMR and the leaderboards work in their current way, it's not going to change. So what I would like them to do is just revert to the season 1 way they had things, pretty much. Like, you can keep that initial boost to like help lower ranked players climb and get their rewards, but at a certain point there needs to be a cutoff. Like it needs to stop. And here we can see Dallas runs right back into them again and basically just ends up farming the bot because the game just keeps matching him into him because the bot is so high rated now. But it's just a really weird thing. And if all they have to do is just make it so after a certain point, 10K, 12K, treat it like legend, right? Like make it so you cannot climb to top 50, top 10, whatever, even top 200. Make it so you can't climb that high with a 50% or sub 50% win rate. It shouldn't be that way, and it really needs to change. So hopefully them seeing this kind of thing going on will contribute to that change happening a little bit more rapidly. But that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, you remember to like and subscribe, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this kind of issue in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.